Amen. Well, it's good to be with you. If you weren't here yesterday, my name is Ronnie Garcia. I'm a missionary to Puerto Rico, which is in the Caribbean. And this question, this issue, well, let me just say that yesterday and tomorrow is a little more formal exposition of the word. Really what I want to do today is just be super practical and really helpful. So it's going to be a little bit more relaxed, just a smaller crowd, a few faithful. Thank you guys. Shout me credit, I know. So thanks, but anyway, thanks. But this issue of discerning the call to missions, it's not theoretical for me. I have this, I've experienced this deep sense of homelessness. I'm not always sure where I belong. There's this missionary biography that I read in seminary that I've thought about over the years so many times. It's really helped me. It's called To the Golden Shore, Life of Adoniram Judson. Let me begin by telling you about this guy. He's his life is like beautiful and tragic. He was this tender man with this really fruitful ministry in Burma, where he labored for over 4 decades. Now, before he made his first voyage to India and then later to Burma, he was married to Nancy Hasseltine. Now, I want you to listen in on the letter that Adoniram wrote Nancy's father when he was going to ask her hand in marriage. Well, listen to this letter. This is what he says. I have now to ask whether you can consent to part with your daughter early next spring, to see her no more in this world. Whether you can consent to her departure and her subjection to the hardships and sufferings of a missionary life. Whether you can consent to her exposure to the dangers of the ocean, to the fatal influence of the southern climate of India, to every kind of want and distress, to degradation, insult, persecution, and perhaps a violent death. Can you consent to all this for the sake of him who left his heavenly home and died for her and for you? Can you consent to all of this? Romantic, right? 2 weeks after they were married, they were off to the field. And those things that he warned his father-in-law could happen, did. On the boat ride to India and then later to Burma, Nancy miscarried their first child. Incredibly painful. Soon she would be pregnant with another child, Roger. Roger would die of disease at 8 months. Nancy would become pregnant again, this time a little baby girl, Maria. And Maria also would be taken by disease at 6 months. And in their sorrow, the Anglo-Burmese War broke out, and Adoniram was dragged off out of his house and put in these death camps for 17 months. Nancy, wanting to support her husband, moved out of the house, moved into this shack beside a prison to support her. He would later be released, but she would die of smallpox. And after his broken heart healed, if that's even possible, he would have the courage to marry again, this time Sarah Boardman. And even Sarah would be overcome by the hardships as she died in a boat on her way to the United States. Now listen, I'm going to stop there. But if you are anything like me, this is what's going on in your heart. Oh Lord, no, this is one of the good guys. Why would you let this happen? What about me? I didn't sign up for this, right? Discerning a call to mission has something to do with your ability to sit in the sadness of that question without any answers. Not any answers on the side. Why would someone bring out their heart for the gospel? Well, discerning the call to missions has something to do with that. A few years ago, I was speaking at a different conference, and it just so happened not to be gone for about 10 days. So my wife, Amanda, she would be your absolute favorite, and she, is getting a little bit she's a little bit anxious because we have like 4 kids, all born like in 2.5 years of each other, and so like our house is like this zoo, right? In fact, I don't know if y'all know Michael and my girls have a friendship crush with Michael and because she was our camp counselor, their camp counselor. So I have connections to some of you guys somehow. So anyway, my wife's a little bit anxious. I'm going to be gone for 10 days. The house is new, and so she comes up to me, and maybe her thoughts got a little bit away from her, and she says, Ronnie, what if you die? I mean, what do I do if you die? And I'm like, what? Sorry. She's like, listen, here's what I want you to hear. What she's not saying is, oh, poor me, I'll be a widow with 4 kids, what will I do? Like, that's not actually what she's asking. She's asking me a really practical question. She's asking me this: where do I bury you? Right? Missionaries understand this is actually a question we have. Where do I bury you? I mean, I grew up in Houston, but I left when I was 18 years old, never been back. I was a military guy, traveled all over. I don't have roots in one place. Most recently, I lived, of course, in the Caribbean, but it's not like those are my people. I don't have any family there. Where do I get buried? And that question would crush me, right? If I didn't, if I didn't have a clear call, a discernible call, because that conversation hints at this. When we decided to be missionaries, we were saying goodbye to a lot of things, right? My kids, they don't grow up with their grandparents. We've had to redefine who our aunts and uncles are. My kids' identity is that they don't really have an identity. They're these third culture kids. There's a few of you like this. I was talking to Nathan yesterday from Kenya, just incredibly interesting, right? Their social understandings. My kids are very similar to that. And there was this one time I was telling Stephanie this, that my oldest son was a little bit younger back then, but we were watching just a baseball game on TV, and the national anthem started playing. And my son goes, "Daddy, what's that song?" Like, what? No! Like, I'm a military guy. Like, I took vows and oaths saying I'm gonna die for what that flag symbolizes. And my own son doesn't even know the national anthem. Like, it's like crushing, you know? My kids, their self-understanding is like, they are like, oh yeah, I'm American, I speak English, but then they come to America and they're like, oh, they're out of place. We were at this barbecue place where you stand in line and they put food on your plate, and the lady put beans on my son's plate, or all on my kid's plate, and they all just start looking at me. And they're like, that's it? Like, where's the rice? You don't eat beans by itself? You're like white people are like, yes, you do. And I'm like, no. Latinos are like, don't eat beans without rice. They go together, right? It's just, it's dumb, but it's like, there's this weird homelessness, right? So that question, where would I get buried? If I had discerned a real clear calling, that would be impossible for me to answer. But that calling, now not the answers to all of my questions. See, because I'll take all of the suffering, that calling would be it is enough for me if I know that I'm squarely in the will of God. That's where I want to be, and that's where I want you to be. Squarely in the will of God. That is enough. That's enough. So what I want to do this morning is kind of take us through some diagnostic questions I think would help. And before I do, let me just say that if you're a Christian, you're a missionary, right? It actually defines you. It's not this extra task. This is kind of what I was talking about a little bit yesterday. It's an identity. Now maybe, as we studied yesterday, you're sitting on a hill, you're offering refuge that people would see your good works and worship your Father who's in heaven. Or maybe you're a lamb or a light that's a little different. Maybe you're like in Luke chapter 15, where there's like these 99 sheep, and you're like, wait, right there, stay, you get your torch, you get your lamp, and walk off to a different camp to find the one. Maybe that's how you're expressing your missionary life. But what I'm going to do today is probably more of that, right? More foreign missionary. But none of you are excused from actually being missionaries where you're at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this taxonomy, this rubric of internal and external call. So internal call is like, do you sense a calling? Is it something that you're really interested in? Do you want it? And then an external call would be, what do other people say about you, right? Like would they say that you have a calling, or would they say, hey, something didn't settle with breakfast well, that's not the Holy Spirit, that is like the egg, something bad or something, you know? So we'll see, you be the judge. So here we are. Here's a series of diagnostic questions. We'll begin with internal. And really this is just helping you have an honest evaluation of who you are. Here's the first question. Do you spend time and take interest in foreigners and foreign cultures now? Like, don't get cute about this. You're not just going to move to another country and all of a sudden just love their culture. Like, who are you now? Like, is it interesting to you now? Right? Or are you the guy who's like, no, I like to eat chicken fingers and french fries at every meal. And there's no interest in foreign cultures. Like, don't be that guy, by the way. What is it? And then let me take this to the next step. Can you deal with the cultural assumptions of other cultures? Like, foreign cultures. Let me tell you a story. This was about 2004, I think, at the time. George W. Bush was running for re-election. And there was an InterVarsity college group who was doing a short-term trip in Peru, and they were meeting up with the InterVarsity college students there in Peru. They were kind of working together. So college students from America worked with the college students in Peru, all InterVarsity, all Bible-believing evangelicals. They love each other. And, because it was around election time, all the American college students were just, talking to themselves about the elections and what's going on. And it became very apparent that they were all Republican, that they all were pulling for George W. Bush, of course. And the Peruvian college students were overhearing this, and then became very alarmed. So they went to their leaders who were bicultural, knew both cultures, and they said, "Are the American students, are they Christians?" Like, they were doubting their salvation because of how pro-Republican, pro-George Bush they were. They didn't have categories to understand how true Bible-believing, Jesus-loving Christians could love George W. Bush. From our perspective, we're like, what? Isn't it the opposite? Well, we're so arrogant, we just think that, political party and everything all goes together. I know, we're a mess, but can you see, how they're socially constituted, their presuppositions about the world are so different. And if that rubs you wrong, if that gives you heartburn, if you can't sit in the tension of that, you might not be suited for foreign missions. Because that's the real world. That's the real life cultures. Come vastly different understandings of the world. And you need to know that. You need to know this about yourself. So that's the first question. You spend time with foreigners now, and can you sit in the tension of their baggage? Here's the second question. Okay, I'm going to set you up with this one. Do you believe that God will love you more if you become a missionary? Or is God somehow less pleased with you if you decide to be a businesswoman or a teacher or mom? Some people want to become missionaries because they feel guilty and they want to do penance. And you're struggling. And you think, if I just become a missionary, God will be happy with me. And there's this arrogance about us, right? There's this arrogance that Jesus is somehow more pleased with you because you're a missionary instead of his pleasure flowing through you by the blood of his own Son. Listen, if you are not absolutely clear on the basis of which the Lord is pleased with you, and that be Christ and Christ alone, then I'm not actually sure what gospel you would preach once you got to that foreign land. And you've got to be super honest about your motivations. You've got to get this clear in your own heart. Does that make sense? So the next one it's similar, and it's this. Are you aware of your own sin? Okay, I'm not asking if you know that you sin. I mean, everyone knows that. I'm not asking if you know that you have struggles with porn or body image, or do you know that you struggle, that you get more pleasure in getting an A in a class than what the Lord says about you? That would be a sin. See? I'm not actually wondering if you just know that that's true of you, but I'm asking you something a little bit more contemplative. And it's asking you to assess your own heart about how does Jesus want to do business with you in a new way? Is there sensitivity to it all? Because here's the thing: when missionaries get together, the conversation we have are being a missionary is like pouring miracle grow on your sin. You don't get holier because you're a missionary. Everything gets worse and harder, really. And quite honestly, it does not help you to, being a missionary won't help you to be a better person. It just accentuates your sin. It's kind of like asking like a guy, an alcoholic, to do ministry at the bar, right? Like, listen, someone's got to do ministry at the bar, but it's not you if you're an alcoholic. You know what I mean? You follow the logic there? So you need a really gentle, self-contemplative understanding of your own heart, because honestly, in the field, there's just not a lot of resources. Right here, listen, if you're struggling, and I know you are, goodness gracious, I don't care if this is a Christian college, I know your mess. I don't even know you, but I know your mess. There's people love you, who wouldn't judge you, and who want to help you. Like, Chapel Low, right? So they'd be like, come on, let's deal with your chapel. Let's do business. Let's go there. Let's get better. People love you. There are resources here, right? But on the field, there's less of that. There's less of that. And so you really gotta have a real self-understanding. Not that you're perfect. Don't hear what I'm not saying. It's not that you're perfect. It's that you have a little contemplation, understanding. You want to get better. You want to invite Jesus to those sacrifices of your heart and say, hey, Spirit, do the work in me. Can you follow that a little bit? All right. Here's a fourth question in the internal part of this taxonomy. Can you see yourself doing anything else? Do I sound like the anti-missionary here, Chaplain Mom? I'm a missionary. I'm pro-missions, but I'm just saying, can you see yourself doing anything else? Listen, because it's honorable to be a missional Christian in your hometown. Listen, I am not a superior Christian to you because I live in Puerto Rico. That is not the case. Now, I don't want you to buy into it for a second. It's interesting. The Apostle Paul, right, wrote most of the New Testament, who is like the foreign missionary to the Gentiles, par excellence, right, the missionary. When he's talking to these guys, he's saying, brothers, I urge you to live quiet. This is 1 Thessalonians 4. Live quietly. Mind your own affairs. Work with your hands as we instructed you, so that you may walk properly before outsiders. Right? That's what he's saying. He's not saying, hey, if you are a serious Christian, nobody can really love Jesus, you can be a foreign missionary like me. That's not what he says. It's just that there's a calling, right? It's different. Can you guys see that a little bit? What bothers me is that sometimes in our circles, we unwittingly implement this sacred, secular dichotomy. And so it's the missionaries who are doing God's real work. The rest of you, you're just trying to earn a paycheck so you can go to church on Sunday and give a little bit. False! Don't buy into that, right? All of it belongs to the Lord. All of it needs redeeming. The question is, how's the Lord shaping you in your desires through all of these diagnostic questions that I have that may or may not be helpful? All right, so that would be the internal rubric. All right, I do not time. Great. All right. So here's the external call. I'm trying to do this so that there's time for questions. I'm like chatty patty here. Don't give a guy a microphone. It's the worst. You all can take your naps. It's fine. Just don't get credit. Correct. External call. What do other people say about your fitness for ministry? Or maybe I can say it like this. Would other people feel safe to tell you the truth? Or are you that person that everyone kind of has to walk on eggshells around? If you're a little too honest with you, your feelings get hurt, you're going to the pity party, and no one wants to be honest with you because you're emotionally fragile, because your identity is tied up in your, whatever it is, tied up. What about it? Listen, here's the deal. Because I don't understand you guys at all. I didn't even go to college. I went to the Air Force Academy. We wore a uniform every single day. There was like one girl to every 10 guys. Like, this makes no sense to me. I can't relate to you, so there's that. Whatever it is that college kids find their identity in, whatever it is. But here's the thing. Do people have to walk on eggshells around you? Or are you safe? Are you safe? And here's the reason why I ask, because the number one reason why missionaries leave the field, it's not adultery, it's not porn, it's team conflict. People take themselves way too seriously. Can you be critiqued? Can you be contradicted? Or are you a safe person? Can you go to sleep at night if someone misunderstands you? Now think about that. Can you sleep all right if someone misunderstands you? Can you just rest on what God says about you? Or does it just unnerve you? If you are someone who's prone to being unnerved all the time, you're a walking time bomb on the mission field. Here's the next one. Are you, external call here, are you qualified? So if you discern a call to missions, well, let's just say there's all kinds of missions. Let's say medical missions or dental missions, right? There's all kinds. You've all heard of this. If you're doing dental missions, do you know anything about teeth? I mean, do you even floss? Right? You expect that if you're doing medical missions, you might know something about the health profession, right? Right? That makes sense. So why, if we're going to go and bring God's word and teach, why do we think we can just go because we did a weekend conference? Study God's word, know it, love it. But listen, the theological landscape of the world is a wreck because people go out, missionaries go out there recklessly, not knowing how to rightly handle the word of God. And so you need to swim in it, you need to love it. And if you want to be a missionary long term, are you willing to take the next step and get equipped professionally, theologically? That would be a big deal. So you need to know that about yourself. All right, let me just tell you one story because this is horrifying. I was in Costa Rica and I was with about 100 missionaries from all these different agencies, and we were kind of all getting together because we wanted to do this little kids camp or whatever, and we wanted to teach the books of the Bible to these kids. And so I asked what I thought was an obvious question. I was like, hey, everyone knows the books of the Bible, right? I mean, we're going to start in Genesis and we're going to end in Revelation, right? Books of the Bible, we're missionaries. No one knew the books of the Bible. They had these programs, they knew how to do these little tools, but no one actually knew the books of the Bible. And that's the leading tip of the sword for missionaries. This is a problem. Swim in God's word, know it. Be willing to prepare yourself if indeed you are sensing a call to missions. All right, and here's another one in the realm of preparation. Do you like languages? Do you like languages, or does it just stress you out when you go to the Mexican restaurant and they're speaking to you in Spanish? Does that stress you out? Because if it does, maybe you're not cut out for foreign missionaries. I'll just throw that out there. Listen, no matter how eloquent you are in English, unless that message is transmitted through a language, unless you can get around it, language is the great equalizer. So do you have this desire to learn a language? Of course, not every country is going to require this, right? But if you do go to England, you have to know what a loo is. What's a loo anyway? I'm not missionary. But y'all see that? You've got to learn. And so learning a language is stressful. It is really stressful. So you, again, self-assessment. You got to know yourself. You got to know your heart. But if it excites you, if language acquisition is something that excites you, then that would be more confirmation that you discern, right? It's more than just breakfast, or more than just hearing an inspirational talk by a missionary. All right. And the last thing is, before we get to questions and answers, if not that is this concept of a delayed call. A delayed call. You might, in this moment, actually feel like, yeah, I think I do want to become a missionary. But receiving the call and actually carrying it out, you need to appreciate that it doesn't always happen at the same timeline. So, for example, I began since calling to missions when I was your age in college. Then I graduated and I became an officer in the Air Force. And I was actually in the professional world for years. And that was incredibly formative and helpful for me. It actually helped me to be a better missionary. because it began to change my questions, right? So the guys who were coming right out of college and going to seminary, they were like, how do you reconcile predestination and free will? And I'm like, what? I was like so over that question. Like what I'm interested in, I know y'all are like in coffee shops talking about these things, like get over it already. What I'm interested in is how to comfort a wife whose husband went down in a plane right outside of Baghdad. Right? That's what I want to know. It changes your questions. Actually learn how to be a more skillful missionary pastor because of that professional experience. Remember, King David was anointed king, but he didn't become king until years later. Right? He was called, but that called. Or think about the Apostle Paul, Acts 9 comes. He doesn't actually fulfill his calling until 14 years later. Right? And so actually, I want y'all to be patient with God's timeline. Like maybe you have a calling right now, but appreciate that timeline. So that's internal, external. I will pause there and open it up to, we have no plans, no questions. I've been planted. So you have to have a lot of courage or have actually heard this and stay awake to have any questions. So I am open if you guys have any questions. Okay, start with it.
Could you mention about lack of research when you're in a context, like resources that we might have here, people around if you're going to research over something, we necessarily have that in a foreign place. So how do you deal with that?
Struggle it out. No, you'll find that certain missions agencies are more helpful than others. I have a wife who is really proactive in areas like we don't have a super high conflict marriage, and so it's really helpful. So people who do have super high, high conflict marriages or not strong support systems, right? They're not necessarily the best suited for this kind of stressful work. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. Part of these things is I had to get a lot of counseling before I ever left. I had to invite Jesus into those sad parts before I ever left. And that, of course, is really important to the next later. Thank you for that question.
We were talking about question change, and I was interested in the answer to the question that, like, how do you comfort someone when they do something like that? Yeah.
Anyone answer that? Here's what you do. When I did a wedding in March, and on July 4th, the guy I married drowned. And I buried him a week after July 4th. They'd been married just 3 days, and so his wife is now a widow, and she asks a very, very honest question. Why? Why did this happen? Here's what I want you to know. Shh. It's not the answer to that question. I will bring her comfort. Even if I could pull out of the sky, I can't, but even if I could pull out of the heavens some answer that just makes sense to her, that wouldn't comfort her. She doesn't want an answer. She wants her husband back. Does that make sense? And so in that moment, what we offer is the ministry of presence. We just weep with her. We get mad with her. We offer our indignation. Because we live in a fallen world where this shouldn't happen. And we're just begging for Jesus to come back and make this untrue. And so I would just dignify her pain and her anger and sit with them. Because it's not the answer to ultimately that she wants. She wants her husband. And so I get to tell her that there's a day where it'll be untrue. The dead will come. We'll rise again. That's when we weep until then.
So it's going to be hard to formulate this question, but when, for example, I feel really attracted to, not attracted, but really special attraction to African culture, and I have always liked an Asian too. So I don't know when is like the right time to go there, or I don't know, like, do I have to wait for something to happen? I don't know. But when is the right time to act upon it and actually like go there?
Hey, can I ask you a few questions? Okay, what's your name?
Sophie.
Sophie, where are you from, Sophie?
I'm from Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Bienvenida. Hey, Latino cultures have a lot of affinities, right, with African cultures and Muslim cultures. So missiologists say that Latinos are better suited for missions to Africa and Muslim cultures than white cultures. Yeah. Because when we're late and stay late, no one has a problem. White people are like, oh, it's kind of no. Right? You know what I'm talking about. I can see it. All right, here we go. Good one. Hey, I'm so glad to know you. Oh my goodness, this is so great. Like, we've got connection now. You got it on last. All right, here we go. What year are you?
I'm a freshman.
You're a freshman. So here's what I would do. If I could just like if I'm your pastor, this is how I'm saying, hey, God has you here, get a good education, and you're going to get a world-class education here. All of you guys are super smart nerds. Super smart. I'm secretly super proud of you. But I can't tell you because in your head will get really big. But I love it. I love all of you guys. It's really cool. I'm so encouraged by you guys. Finish up. Get a good education. That this will be part of shaping who you're becoming to bless African or Asian cultures. But between now and then, see if you can't do some short-term missionaries. And not just like where you're going to build a house for someone, but go and actually live with missionaries who are there long-term. So you can see how ordinary their life is. See, a lot of you guys have done short-term mission trips, and it's like, you do like, I don't know, like a camp or something like that. But like, I don't do camps every week. I actually live an ordinary life in San Juan, Puerto Rico, right? And so I want you to feel what it feels like to do in the ordinary, to live an ordinary life in a foreign culture. And so there are missionaries. So I would just like team up, like spend a week or two or a month during your summers with them. And when it's all said and done, that sense of this culture will come more clear and more acute. Or you'll be like, no, honestly, I'm loving my English major or whatever I'm studying, And at a time and experience will actually help sort that out. That's how I do it.
And I think you're going to understand this, like in Latino culture, we, like the Christians, believe that you have to have like a specific calling, like once in a lifetime, like a tangible experience with God for him to tell you like you need to go there, So I grew up with that perspective, and now that I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, do I have to wait for that, or I don't know, I'm confused.
Yeah, no, that's right. Where is this ecstatic experience where God just says it? No, right? Most of it is He's going to shape your desires and your longings and desires, and you just walk in it through His providence. And I want you to rest. That's a better way. Because what happens is if you think you've heard the voice and then it doesn't work out, then you're really in a pickle. Right? And so, yeah. Are we done? A couple more questions?
Yeah, we're good.
Great. Last question.
Awesome. You talk about swimming God's Word. Obviously, for every Christian, it's a good thing to do. I'm curious, how did formal training, how did the practical going to school, seminary, in terms of learning God's Word, what was sort of the practical benefits for you as a missionary as opposed to just every Christian can read God's Word on their own? What was the practical benefit of that?
Yeah, so one of the things that the Protestant Reformation did is it sort of democratized access to God's Word, which was beautiful, right? Priesthood of all believers. But what the priesthood of all believers does not mean is that we don't have specialists, right? And so while I definitely believe that it is a privilege to have a Bible in your home, and that's why you should read it and engage it and know it, come to it with a certain amount of humility, because it takes years and years of not just reading it, studying and reflecting on. I mean, those of you guys who are in the Bible department, for as much as you've heard 1,000 sermons from your dad, who's probably a pastor or something like that, take one of these, right? I'm only saying it's like, that's what my children say. They're like, pastors are so boring. Right, so you're taking these classes and you'll be like, oh, I grew up in the church, I've never even heard this stuff, right? And so what happens is you begin to create a scaffolding with God's Word that takes years of intentional training that just reading lay books won't. So you'll be my formal education as a master's in divinity and working with Greek and Hebrew has allowed me to access resources that I would not otherwise been able to access. And so now I'm a unique resource in San Juan, Puerto Rico, right? And I want missionaries to see themselves as a really meaningful, unique resource. Again, that doesn't mean that you can't stay true to true things. Every Christian should be missional and be hospitable and invite people in and devotionally reflect on God's word, right? Well, I'm talking about something slightly more specific, more intentional than that. So, yeah. I went to come to seminary and tell them my homework was great. It was a great place to get a master's in divinity.